Okay, so we have not talked about Kai Sotto for a very long time, so let's get an update. Let's see how good he actually is and why I personally believe he is the best center outside of the NBA. Let's get down and let's check him out. Okay, so just like average at the pro level, while this is, of course, FIBA, there's really not many players who are going to be boxing out. At this level, they generally just try and pick a spot. I know that's lame to hear. However, that is basically where we are at when it comes to NBA players. None of these guys are boxing out. They are just going for that rebound, which allows Kai Sotto, of course he's 7'1", to be able to get that putback slam. He is a very good defensive player, as we can see right here. When I put it into play in slow motion, he can get a lot of blocks. He can sit behind defenses. When players drive to the basket, he's going to get a ton of these blocks. I have always looked at Kai Sotto as a Jokic-style player. He's very good at passing to these players who are doing different cuts off of screens, and it really gives him the ability to get a ton of assists in the game. Now, because he's such a great passer, he can actually do stuff like this. Now, of course, he is currently being guarded by somebody who is a whole head shorter than he is, so keep that in mind. This is a 2-3 zone that he's playing against. They're not generally going to be playing against zones in the NBA. However, out on that high post, he's able to confuse at least this defender with that fake pass, because Kai Sotto himself is known as a pass-first center. So when he attacks that man right after, he's then able to pass the ball. As I was saying, he's a pass-first center. He's very Jokic-like. However, he doesn't exactly have the exact same skills as Jokic. He's able to play the physical game in FIBA. Now, keep in mind, that was a block. It was called out of bound. If that was like an actual name brand player like Embiid or Jokic going towards the rim, that would have almost been a guaranteed foul. His arms came across the player, but in FIBA, they call a lot less when it comes to these fouls. Now, this is a really nice move. He's able to get his elbow into the defender, and he's able to go up with two hands. He's asking for the foul. That is, in my opinion, a no call. Keep in mind, anytime that you're in the post and you're the one who makes contact, if the ref doesn't call the foul on you and they call it a no call, you should probably not complain about a foul call. If you make contact first, not many refs are going to be calling a foul on the defender. So making contact first will clear that man out of your way. Potentially could be an offensive foul. However, by going up with two hands, keeping the ball at his chest height, as we've seen right here, allowed him not to get the ball stolen from that secondary man. They would call this the dig man, because he would then, of course, dig on this low post player if he was to bring that ball down. However, Kai Sotto was able to keep that ball nice and high and, of course, go up with two hands. This is exactly what you would want to do as a center. This is exactly what I mean by, in the FIBA game, they allow a lot more contact in the low post. This man right here is practically hugging Kai Sotto. Now, Kai Sotto does have a massive height advantage on the defender, and generally speaking, they will not be calling fouls on shorter players on taller guys, because they expect the tall guy to be able to fight through it, and that's exactly what Kai Sotto was able to do here. He went up with two hands and did not get blocked. Now, while this right here is a very dangerous move, dribbling with your head down going towards the baseline, he did pick up his dribble after two dribbles. Usually after two dribbles, what will happen is there will be a secondary defender that comes down to try and trap you or double team you in the low post. However, when he spins off, originally this is kind of risky. He has the ball at his waist. That's going to get stripped most of the time. However, he brings the ball high over his head, which is exactly what you want to do in the low post. If you do a spin move in the low post, you need to have the ball high. If there's a man in the way, let's say this guy was just a bit taller, he is going to have to clear out of Kai Sotto's space because Kai Sotto's elbow is right there. Now, while doing a spin move and having your elbow out like Kai Sotto does, if it was to make contact, it should be an offensive foul. However, because this guy is much shorter than Kai Sotto, he's not going to get hit, and that just allowed Kai Sotto to be able to get past his man and to get a layup. However, to bring that elbow up as Kai Sotto does right here, what that is doing is, if this post defender was taller, that is going to make him back up so that it creates space for Kai Sotto. Again, This is a dangerous move and can give players concussions. So I would not be teaching players to do this. Instead, to keep the elbows in so that you can still clear out space without having to make contact with players' bodies. Now, this is a good move. This is a big boy move. He gets the ball in the post. He pushes the man off with his shoulder and elbow. Again, pro FIBA rules. Yes, that's an offensive foul, but they're not going to call it. And he's able to go up, again, 2 hands. This is a massive tip. If you are a low post player, you first off need to make contact first with your defender. That's exactly what Kai Sotto does here. I'm going to say at the youth level here in Canada, they will probably call that an offensive foul. But it depends on the level, depends on the referee, depends on a lot of different things. However, after he created that space, that gap between himself and that defender, again, you always want to make contact first with your defender. He goes up with 2 hands, as we see right here. It's extremely hard to be able to block somebody in the low post, especially if they are a big man going up with 2 hands. And that is exactly what he was able to do here and score with that move. Another tip that I can give you that we see with Kai Sotto is his ability to also pass the ball. Now here he scores. However, watch what he does when he receives that ball. The first thing he does is he looks over his shoulder. This is a very good telltale sign of a center who likes to pass first. Because when you get that ball into the low post, one of the most deadliest things that you can be is a passer. Because now you have a different angle to be able to look at your teammates from. So instead of passing from the top, now you're passing essentially from the baseline. So now you can see a different angle, players cutting back door, potentially players back screening for players. Different options are available to players to pass if they're in the low post. So definitely look over your shoulder. That will also give you an idea where these defenders are going to be. So what he does here is he looks really quick. He takes 1 dribble. Remember, you want to limit your dribbles. If he was to take a second dribble, this guy would have stole the ball. So by limiting your dribbles to 1 in this case, he makes contact first, he creates that space, and then he's able to go up with, again, 2 hands, which is extremely important, especially when you've got other big guys around. So yes, Kai Sotto is one of the better centers outside of the NBA, in my opinion. I would love to see him try and compete in the NBA. Will it happen? Maybe not. There's reasons behind things that happen. So we all know everyone who follows Kai Sotto knows exactly what happened. And I think that the fact that he left the D-League, the G-League, before the season started and that whole COVID thing with the international team, I think that really hurt his chances of making the NBA, but we're going to have to see. Anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.